Hello everyone, welcome back to another Unity 3D tutorial. This will be week 2 of 3 talking about the plane simulator. As you can see on the syllabus, the page to submit your pitch for the final project is also open this week. So I guess we can get right into it. We'll continue right where we left off, and this will be sort of what we want to get accomplished in this tutorial. It shouldn't take as long as prior weeks, but I've said that a few times now and it never seems to go that way, but we'll try our best. And so I've prepared a few things in advance, so if you would like to get the same exact assets as me, you can just Google these, specifically the sounds I got from freesound.org, and the plane model we're going to use, I just went on the asset store and went to free and then looked up plane model. Okay, so speaking of which, the first thing on our to-do list is to change the plane model, because if we hit play here, we'll see that our game kinda stinks right now. We got a nice particle system, but no sound. The plane looks awful. You know, I tried my best, but it still looks pretty bad. So we'll go ahead and change that right about now. So I already imported it. I got this rusty plane model. Under prefabs, they already give us this this nice model right here, which is way better than anything I could do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it and make it a child of our airplane object. And I'm going to get rid of these plane arms. And I'm going to actually I can leave it on for the moment. What I'm going to do is move biplane here to 0, 0, and 0 relative to our main character, and rotate it this way. Oh, not like that. I will. Rotate. Oh, in this direction, right. Negative 90 degrees. Now you see it's all stretched out because our parent object here was stretched by a factor of 2 on the z-axis. I'll shrink that back down to a normal cube, and I can turn off the mesh renderer for this object. And now, all of a sudden, we have a nice looking plane. If I go to my biplane, yeah, we don't have any components that will conflict or anything. It's just an empty game object for all that we care. And let's just see if this works. Okay, we have a plane. It looks kind of weird, doesn't it? Maybe, I think it's just the angle. We need to move our camera. Okay, let's see what let's move it down. Oop, the camera. Let's move it down and forward a little bit. That's probably pretty good. Maybe a lot, yeah. Moved it much closer there. Now let's try that. Okay, that's better, I think. Our particles are still white, so they don't really match the plane when it explodes. So if we can fix that really quickly, that would be nice. Explosion particles, instead of start color, I'm going to pick something that matches this sort of red color here. And it doesn't have to be perfect. That looks pretty good. In fact, what I can do, instead of picking one color, I can pick random between two colors. Oops. And you see there's this red color, but there's also this sort of grayish color. And using random between two colors means that it'll give us some variation in the particles. Go right about here. Okay, let's see what happens. Cool. Not perfect. It's kind of conflicting styles, but I think it looks pretty good still. Better anyways. Okay, so let's see. We changed the plane model. Let's actually do some coding. We're going to add in some sound effects. So I need to add a crash sound and add some looping music. This we've done before, so it shouldn't take that long. In our airplane, and make sure throughout this project you don't click on biplane by accident. The airplane object right here is all we need. So in fact, I'm going to hide that drop-down menu. Okay, let's add an audio source. Okay, that should be good. I do not want, yeah, actually I'll leave this on for when we do music. And now yeah, let's just drag in our music here, because this is my looping one, and go into the code, and let's actually make some of these references to public, actually I'll make private, audio source, let's call it AS, and I'll make a public reference to an audio clip that will be our crash sound effect. Okay. Let's see, I'll make that lowercase. And in start, much like we get component our rigid body, we're going to do the same thing for our audio source. And when do we want to play our music? We want to play that at the start of the game. So I'm going to do as dot, I believe it, yeah, just play should work. Okay, and we want to play, play, just like this, we'll play the clip that's attached to the audio source. Oops. Okay, so back in audio source, we actually do want to enable looping for our music. And when do we want to hear our crash sound effect? We want that to happen when we collide with the ground. So somewhere over here, I'm going to add a new comment to say play the crash sound effect. Okay, and we're going to do AS again. Dot. Instead of play, we're going to do play one shot, so that way it does not loop. And we need to actually pass in the clip here. It will be, what do we call it? Plane crash. Okay, let's see how that happens. Oops. And I believe we need a reference here to our plane crash sound. Might be a little loud. That's pretty loud. See what happens when we crash. Hard to hear, but you could, if you're going to use these techniques in your own game, you can adjust the volume just by manipulating the audio source settings here, or even you can do it in code too, but I won't really mess with that. I'll let you do your own fine-tuning. So aside from these two sounds, what do we want to do? Well, I want to add pickups, and for our game we can actually go we can think of this in several different ways. I'm going to go pretty simple here. What I want is to spawn a bunch of big shiny cubes in the sky, and I want to run into them and either add to our health or make an ammo variable or something, or maybe make this our win condition. We might fix up the game and fine-tune it in the next and final episode of the plane tutorial, but we'll actually just get them working in this tutorial. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to right-click and add, and there are a few different ways of doing this. This is a way that I find works pretty well. I'm just going to add a sphere here. I'll just call it pickup. And you can even make multiple different types, like one's for ammo or one's for health or whatnot, but I'll just make a generic pickup for now. This is a little small. I'm going to make it 10 by 10 by 10. Make it, because our plane moves pretty quickly and I don't want it to be hard to hit. Okay, I'll give it a color. I'm making material, I'll call it matte red or pickup. And I'll make it some shiny red color. Okay, and let's actually make it metallic. There we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, and so now there's just one in the sky here, but I actually want it, I want to spawn a bunch of them in the air. So before we do that, let's actually make it a prefab and make sure it works with just one of them. Now we are going to detect if we've hit a pickup, we're going to use tags. I actually already made the tag. It's called pickup here. Now in code, what we can do is on collision enter. If it does not equal plane, we want to explode. We actually got rid of the other airplane parts, so we don't even need to worry about this. But if the tag does not equal pickup, then we want to do this, and else would mean that we've hit a pickup, and in which case, what do we want to do? Well, we want to play the pickup sound, play one shot. Oh, we didn't define that yet. So another audio clip here for pickup sound, I guess should work. Okay, after we play the sound, we want to actually destroy the pickup. Let's say collision.gameObject. And then, yeah, we won't add to any variables for now, but we will let us know that we've actually collided with it, and in which case we would do something like debug.log. That's what I'm doing. Let's say collected pickup. Oops. And so we might run into one problem here, and we'll see what that's like in a second. Let's see if I can actually hit the pickup. So we can hit the ground, explode, and you'll notice that I started turning after that because of our plane's weird physics. Once I hit the pickup, even though it gets destroyed immediately, for the one frame that we do collide with it, it sort of applies this rotation to our plane that sends us spinning out of control. So one easy way to fix that is actually to, instead of using the collision detection, we can use the trigger detection. So that way, this isn't actually an object that we can run into, but if we pass through its collision detection radius here, then we can still tell it to do things. And we do that, we can actually keep this stuff. I'm going to get rid of this. We don't even need to mess with this collision detection anymore. I'm going to indent this by doing Shift-Tab, or de-indent that. And now instead of doing private void on collision enter, we're going to do private void on trigger enter. What do you know? And so now we want to play the one shot, destroy. It's called other for some reason, so we're going to do other.gameObject, and then, yeah, let's just leave it just as is. I guess it'd be good coding practice to say if other.tag equals pickup, then do all this stuff. So I'll put that there. Oops. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now let's try it. We have isTrigger enabled. Cool, we collected the pickup. I didn't actually assign it said a null audio clip because I forgot to assign it on airplane, pickup sound, right there. Now let's try it again. Sort of like a retro style Mario-esque pickup sound. Everything else still works as intended. Awesome. I don't know what that is. It's not important. It has something to do with how we're viewing the game. Anyways, so we did pickups. Let's actually now make this a prefab. I'm going to set this back to 000 so we don't have an offset. Make this a prefab, and then get rid of it. And now I want to just spawn a bunch of them in the world here. And so again, there's a few different ways we can do that. The way I'm going to do it is set one spot with an empty game object and another spot with an empty game object, and then I'm going to use the x, y, and z values, pick a random value in between those, and then create that new coordinate to spawn a pickup in. And to do that, we're going to use a new function, use a for loop and everything. It's going to be nice. Okay. So let's do that. So in our code here, I'm going to pull up my reference. We need to actually make a new function here. Down here, I'll call it something like public void spawn pickups. And we actually are going to use a parameter, I'll call it int, like this will be for the number of pickups to spawn. Okay, spawn pickups. Now when do we want to do this? We want to do this at the start of the game. How many? Let's say, well, let's make this a variable too. Let's say public, I can put that up here too. Public integer number of pickups. So we can actually edit this in the editor. Set this in the editor, I meant to say. Okay. Now what do we want to do? Well, we want to spawn something 50 times, or this many number of times, assuming it's 50. Okay, to do that we're going to make a for loop. And if you haven't made a for loop yet, in C# it looks like this. I think actually, can I just tab complete? I can. So I just double press tab there after 4 and it completed it for me. So the 3 parameters here, we need a initial condition, I. We are just creating this this variable here, I, setting it to 0. We want to run it until this I variable is less than, or we only want to run it while it is less than this number. And then each iteration we're going to increase this I number by 1. Okay, and what are we going to do? Well, like I said, assuming there are 2 points in our map, and this is a pretty square map too, so it works out pretty well. Let's say a point here and a point here. What I want to do is take these coordinates, or the coordinates of the empty game object, more accurately, and sort of combine them both and then randomize the numbers of each x, y, and z coordinate and then instantiate the pickup object at that new coordinate. Okay, so I can write it down and we can go over it together. So vector, I'll call it v. This will be equal to, I didn't actually create the objects yet. Public, I'll call it, that'll be not a game object, but a transform. And I'll call it pickup spawn min and pickup spawn max. Okay, and this v vector temporary one will be the pickup spawn max dot position minus the pickup spawn min dot position. So this will be the difference between the two for x, y, and z because it's a vector 3. Okay, and so now our target position, I'll call it vector 3 target position. This will be equal to a new vector 3, and it will be pickup min dot position dot x, and we'll do this for each of the 3 variables. This will be plus a random dot value, and what does this give us? This gives us, random value gives you a random float between 0 and 1, so this is where our randomness comes from, and then we're going to multiply this by that difference there, v dot x. Okay, and now I'm going to do this for x, y, and z. So when there are x's, I change to y, and when there are x's, I change to z. Okay, and now all we have to do is actually instantiate our pickup object. I don't believe I set a reference to that yet. Public game object, because it's prefab, just pickup. Okay, we'll instantiate the pickup where? At the target position, and it needs a rotation, so I'll call it quaternion dot identity to not give it any weird rotation. Identity would just be 1, 1, 1, 1, since quaternion is 4 numbers. Okay, and I believe that's all we need to do besides actually creating these empty game objects. I will actually set the number of pickups, let's say 50 for now. And I'll just make a little test here. And I'll create an empty. Okay, let's put it in front of our plane. Okay, I'll move it this way, move it this way. Okay, this will be our minimum pickup min, and I will duplicate it, call it pickup spawn max, and I will move this in 3D space. Let's see, this way. I'll make a big cube, and I'll move it this way. Okay, so now we have 2 points here, and it should spawn. At the start of the game, it should spawn these pickups between those 2 points. Let's see how it works. It should make a big cube. Did I miss it? Oh, I forgot to put these transforms in there. Oh, I forgot 3 things. Wow. Okay, so airplane, min, max, and the actual pickup prefab. There we go. Cool. It's kind of okay. I kind of forgot. It's pretty big, and you can't actually really see that it's a square. So I'm going to bump up 50 to, let's say, 200. You should see it's a square better. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, that's really loud. So now let's actually go to the extreme here and move our minimum to one end of the map. Let's say over here. Let's just spawn them, let's say like within this mountain range. That's one side. I'm going to move this one down a little bit. And then our maximum, I will move this one to the other end of the map and put it pretty high in the air. Okay. So now we have something pretty cool. And I feel like this isn't going to be too big of a number. Let's make it 300. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Very cool. Okay, this is awesome. I like this. I just had an idea too. One way we could make this game work, instead of running off fighting other airplanes, you could make it so that way, I'm going to pause it so the music stops playing. You could make it so that way, let's say you have a timer, and the timer is running out, and if the timer hits 0, the game's over, but every time you hit a pickup, let's say it extends your timer or something. And also, maybe every time, one thing we could add, probably in the next tutorial, is that if you hit a pickup, it will run this function again, but only for one pickup, to sort of replace the last one. And so yeah, that's about all we're going to do for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we'll do a lot more fine-tuning, as it will be the last video in the series. And yeah, we should have basically a complete game loop by then. So yeah, make sure to keep up with the Canvas page to make sure you're not missing any assignments. I know the semester is getting pretty difficult. At this point, we have finals coming up. You also have a Game Jam number 2 soon. So yeah, if you have any questions on anything in the course, as always, feel free to reach out to me via email. And yeah, I'll see you next week.